Hey guys, Harrison1 back at it with a brand new video for you. You probably already know me as Andre Harrison, and welcome to another video blog. And before I get started, a massive thanks to all you guys' support. We just crossed 100,000 total views on this account since January, and that's a tremendous achievement. So thank you all so much for your support on this channel over the last year. It really does mean a lot. In this video blog, I want to talk about Felipe Massa, and well, if you saw the hangout we had yesterday, Keeping It 101 Live, the full replay is now out on YouTube, by the way. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend you do. But it was... we had the clanger drop during that show, live as we were broadcasting, that Felipe Massa had accepted a deal to return to the Williams team in 2017. There was rumblings about this over the last 24 hours at the time of recording, but yeah, every major outlet was reporting it as we got it, and yeah, it's hard to really get a grip on this, and we didn't quite, when it was first announced, we didn't quite know how to feel about it, and as time went on, I think people on the internet got more cynical regarding this, and I think it's understandable as to why, because, well, I'd say there's two major reasons for this. The reason number one, at least in my opinion, is that Felipe Massa had the perfect send-off. Why? Because Massa has been a driver that people have invested such a high amount of emotions in the last, 15 years of his career or so. From 2006, when he got the Ferrari job alongside Michael Schumacher, to 2008, when he had the world title he very nearly won, and in the eyes of many, probably should have won. And he was incredible in 2008, and he was so unlucky not to have won that championship. But that's how Formula One can be. Sometimes it's a cruel sport. 2009, he had that life-changing accident that very nearly killed him. I think it was Barrichello spring had struck him in the head, and he was lucky to be alive that day. And he came back in 2010. We had the emotional attachment to him coming back. We were pulling for him. And he was dropped right into an ugly Ferrari situation with Fernando Alonso, where he had essentially become team leader. And Massa, what I love about Felipe Massa is that he sacrificed so much of his career to help other people. From Michael Schumacher to I'm glad he got his little run where he could stand on his own 2 feet. At Ferrari between 2007 and 2009, and he came back to Nando, and he was willing to follow team orders to help Alonso win the championship, and he's always been one of the most likable, genuine team players that Formula One has ever had. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, I think he's a Hall of Very Gooder, but he will go down as one of Formula One's great men. That's why I like to describe him as, because he is a guy that would be an amazing guy to have in your team, an asset to any team. His experience, his warmth, his friendliness, his experience, and just his ability to be able to take one for the team so much. And the relationship he had with Rob Smedley was very public. We all loved that about Felipe. And I don't think anybody's got a bad thing to say about Felipe Massa, the human being. Let's put it that way. The driver, well, you could see he was fading this year. Bottas beat him a bit more convincingly in 2016. Bottas has always had the number on Massa, but 2014 was kind of unlucky on Massa because he had more retirements. But as time has gone on, it's become more and more established that Bottas is the better guy in that team. And the second reason why I think a lot of people are upset about this is not only because Massa had that perfect send-off at Brazil, where you could see behind me the flag, the guard of honor, the hugs and the cuddles in the pit lane in front of the family. They were all beautiful, touching scenes, and a perfect way, I think, for Felipe Massa to sign off on his career was one last burst of emotion and genuine warmth and heart and passion. Something that we often crave in Formula One. That's something that we got when he hung up the gloves, or so we thought he hung up the gloves. And the second reason for that is because we in Formula One have an obsession now with youth. We want young drivers now. We want the sport to be younger. We want the next generation to come through. And 35-year-old Felipe Massa is coming back for another season. So, naturally a lot of fans are going to be upset about that. And I've had many people bark down my neck telling me that, oh, teams should gamble on youth more often. And, we could get into a debate about this in another video regarding Antonio Giovinazzi, for example. But people are excited to see a young Williams team again. We've already got Lance Stroll confirmed, and it was looking like Pascal Wehrlein could replace whoever Mercedes get. The problem was that Williams signed a deal with Martini where they had to have at least one driver over the age of 25. And every other young pretender that's out there that we like in Formula One these days is under that age. I mean, the biggest one was probably Felipe Massa over at Sauber, who's tested for the team before, but he's 24. He's not 25 until next August. So that was going to be a problem. Pascal Wehrlein is 22. Daniel Kvyat is 22. Obviously, Esteban Ocon, for example, he's 19. And every other major established name is over that, but have either gone or retired or probably just aren't good enough anyway. Like Jenson Button, who, you could bring him back if you really wanted to. I mean, it was no secret Williams were trying to do that last year, but Button was comprehensively beaten by Fernando Alonso this year. Do you really want that guy in your seat for a year as a placeholder? I guess it's harmless in the short term, but that's not really inspiring in the long term. And you've got to remember, Williams are coming off, by their standards, a pretty poor season. They finished 5th overall. They're not even the best independent team in the sport right now because they lost out to Force India and that team with Perez and Hulkenberg. And they need to bounce back. And there's a lot of reshuffling going on in that camp right now. And bringing back Felipe Massa, is that really going to please shareholders? Is that going to inspire people to invest? Is that going to make the team look good right now, bringing back a guy that wasn't particularly good last season? Probably not, and we all know there's deeper implications to this as well. And of course, the implications to this is that it looks like it's going to be Valtteri Bottas heading over to Mercedes next year to be Lewis Hamilton's teammate. And I don't think it's a big deal that Bottas is going over there. Again, I talked about this on my last video blog. Bottas could easily put up 300 points in that Mercedes, and that's all they really need. Whether he can challenge Hamilton or not is a different question entirely. So, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But, there's a big reshuffle. I think Smedley is gone. Pat Simons looks like he's quit the team. He's going to move on. And it looks like Paddy Lowe will be coming in after quitting the Mercedes team. So, I don't know what the implications of that are. I don't know if Pat was feeling demotivated or that he knew the jig was up when the talk about Paddy Lowe coming in started coming into fruition. I don't know whether Mercs have made some kind of agreement with Williams to maybe discount the engines for a year or two as compensation for taking their star driver, because Mercedes are greedy bastards. And if anything, I think people are forgetting to ignore the fact that there's a massive conflict of interest going on here, because Toto Wolff manages Valtteri Bottas as part of his company, and if he can sign his own driver to the team, he gets a nice big healthy signing bonus because he's his agent, and agents always take a cut of the gross. So, Toto Wolff can directly impact his own salary by signing Valtteri Bottas over. Again, I'm amazed that not more people have pointed out this enormous conflict of interest of what's going on in the Williams camp right now. But Bottas is probably going to move on. Smedley is gone. Simons is gone. You've got Paddy Lowe coming in. It's hard to make an immediate impact into these teams, especially one that is fighting a financial battle with the big three. There's only so much progress I think Williams can make, and they could be going for a real reshuffle right now, and it could hurt them in the short term, but it might make them better in the long term. I mean, we'll have to wait and see just how good Lance Stroll really is in a Formula One car. I mean, he's got incredible amounts of investment and backing and resources behind him, so it's going to be very interesting to see how that turns out, as my phone timer goes off for some stupid reason. But on top of that, I don't know where this Williams team is going to be next year, and it's just, I look at that camp and I think, God, where are you really going with this? That's the feeling I get right now. you seem to be banking a lot on Lance Stroll, and if Massa retires again at the end of next season, where do you go from there? And what driver could you really get in that team to, make the team look more positive? Because again, the driver market is going to explode next year. Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen are all free agents. Arguably 5 of the 6 biggest names in this sport are going to be on the open market, and Williams could easily get their arms bitten off again as Massa retires and they struggle to find another guy to replace him in their seat. And again, it's got to be someone on the older side of things, because like I said, that Martini deal is got them padlocked in that regard. So there's a lot of complicated stuff on the table here, and the Massa unretirement is one that is going to be a landmark moment for Williams, and at least in the next couple of years, as to where that team is going and what direction it's going to head in. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole deal. I mean, what do you think of Massa's unretirement? Do you think it's a good thing for Williams he's coming back? Who would you have liked to have seen in that seat? And what do you make of Williams' reshuffle as a team going forward? Because they've come off their worst year in F1 since the hybrids began. They were the real surprise of the hybrid era so far, bouncing back up the field after 2013 was so bad for them. But what next? I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I've been Andre Harrison, and I'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.